I'm Mindy Colucci, and I work in Walled Lake Schools, and I am a early childhood special education teacher, and I teach children 3 to 5 years old who have a variety of disabilities.
The idea of the app is to really help teams that work with preschool age children, primarily the classroom-based teacher, or it could be a child care provider, but we're really thinking about those who interact with children minute by minute, day by day, and want to really make sure that they're covering the intended content. So we can do lesson plans, we can have state standards, we can have a curriculum, but when it comes down to it, how do we make sure that we're actually delivering the instruction that we set out to do? So the idea is that pre-K providers, particularly preschool providers, can plan with minimal time, effort, and deliver necessary instruction within groups, small groups, or even one-on-one.
Some of the challenges I have is that working with so many adults in our room that support our children is directing them in how I want things taught. So I have to give a mini lesson to each teacher, and I don't have time to do that. Sometimes I just give them the activity and hope for the best and model it as much as I can. And I guess teachers today are so data driven that they have to really collect a lot of data. So I'm responsible for that data, so I feel like it's my responsibility and I don't entrust that to other people, but it would be nice to be able to entrust that by giving them the skills and the tools to do that.
So the app really has two functions, or two features. One is it helps all the team members be on the same page. We sometimes talk about speaking with one voice so that all of the adults know how to deliver the instruction. And so these sequences that will be in the app tell a team what to teach, when to teach, where to teach, the materials that they'll need, and then actually how to teach. So they can deliver this little power pack of instruction, and they can all do it in a similar way. The second way that the app can be used is to help teams be more intentional. Sometimes we get in the classroom and we get caught up and there's so much going on, and this allows us to step back and make sure that we actually covered the content that might be required in our curriculum, our standards, might be the target outcome for the week.
The children I teach are a variety of disabilities. They are cognitively impaired, emotionally impaired, on the autism spectrum. They can have physical impairments. They develop both good skills and they struggle with some skills. So they have some high points and low points, some splinter skills. I think it would be interesting to take my children's goals and objectives, and if they fit into the sequences that are built in, that would be real easy to manipulate in a system and flip through and figure out what I need to for each child, because each child's at a different level. So you might need to back step to more simplistic, and then other kids might need some higher level thinking things. But to have it so structured is difficult too, because every child's different. So making my own might be interesting for those kids who have different challenges.
So the app initially will be for those that work with preschool age children, and those could be preschoolers with all kinds of diverse abilities, and it can be for the classroom teacher, paraprofessionals, speech and language pathologists, even volunteers. The idea is that any adult can deliver the Power Pack.
I think that having an app that would be easy to click on and change my thought process for each kid would make my life a whole lot easier and to be more purposeful for each child, to take a specific goal and work on that goal today and then work on a different goal for another kid at the same center without making 15 lesson plans. It would be easy hands-on clicking and using.
Teachers have reported that it's really easy to use, that it helps them become more intentional. It's not like a lesson plan where they have to write down a lot of things or plan a lot of stuff. They just get into the activity and they deliver the sequence on the fly, and it helps them remember vocabulary words that they wanted to use, content that they wanted to cover, and so they find it's really a helpful way to be intentional, as well as I said, to speak with one voice so that they're all delivering instruction. So the prototype of the app really tries to demonstrate this blending between play and academics, and we want to be able to combine those so that we are intentionally teaching important content, but we're doing so by following children's leads and interests. So one of the things that comes in these power packs, in these intentional instructional sequences, is how to teach. And one strategy is the use of novelty. So for example, you can prepare very minimally ahead of time by grabbing all kinds of kitchen gadgets, things that kids may have seen, things kids have never seen, maybe even things that adults have not ever seen. And you bring those and you have a big discussion with kids about what are these objects, what are their function, how do we use them? And this gives a chance for kids to learn important content as well as be interested and engaged.
So today we used the mealtime kitchen sequence, and what I did was brought in some novelty items, and I looked through where I knew my kids were, and novelty-wise, they're pretty good at exploring things. So I flipped through the chart and found the brainstorming piece on this and made this sequence to talk about the different gadgets I brought in and kind of ask them questions on what you might use it for, give them those vocabulary words that they may have never heard of. And it was interesting to talk back to those children and say, what was that used for? And some of them remembered what it was for, or remembered what it was called with a cue. So I think as a teacher, planting those seeds of those informational words is so important for them, me as a preschool teacher, for them to go on and use that later on in their education.
So what we've had for years is this idea that we can make intentional instruction easier for the teams to actually deliver without causing more planning time, especially as several adults have to get together to plan. So we had this idea of wanting to deliver instruction during play, and we wanted to make sure that kids got lots and lots of opportunities to get both instruction and play. So we moved towards this paper version, and we've created these sequences where we talk about what we're going to teach, when, where, all of that. And over time, it became kind of cumbersome. It felt more like paperwork. It felt like a form that we were filling out. So the idea is to fund the app, we can have something that is much more dynamic, that teachers can create their own sequences, they can shuffle and use pre-made sequences, they can search by different outcomes. So if the letter of the week is the letter D and they want to create some sort of sequence to teach letter naming, they could search within the app. They can also print, save, and export apps to show accountability to their lesson plans, that they're addressing state standards, that they're working on their curriculum. So the app is really designed to ensure that kids are getting multiple opportunities to play and receive instruction, as well as we're trying to create unique opportunities that could be on the fly based on kids' interest, but they're also things that we've already created and tested and know to be effective.